Hello, I'm Kevin, one of the founders of Untied. We regularly run tax webinars for Untied users, but we particularly wanted to put this one on YouTube because it helps you identify the right Untied product for you. Give us a shout if you can see something that looks like Untied Light now.
Yeah, that looks brilliant
Yeah,
to me.
okay, Ben, you're good with that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting off by walking through Untied Light. I know many of you have seen this before, but we'll do this slowly, and we'll go through sort of what the features are of the two products. We will then go through Untied Pro, which you should see as well. Can you see that as well, Ben, now?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so this is a much more powerful, richer experience way of doing your taxes, which also works on your mobile. And we'll do this sort of comparison and we'll learn how things work. So Untied Light is the quickest way to be managing your taxes. This is the tool that someone has actually used to do a tax return in as fast as 80 seconds. If you log in using your browser, and I think I've got resolution, which makes it look rather big at the moment, it looks a little bit like this, but you can also use Untied Light on your phone, in which case the menu is going to be disappearing and it's going to look a little bit more like that sort of experience. You can see that to get the menu, you click on that hamburger at the top and that brings in the menu. Both Untied Pro and Untied Light are designed to manage all your taxes in one place. Untied Light includes the ability to translate. So if English is not your first language, just click on translate and you can then pick the language that you want to be translating that into. And then you can refer back into the language that you want and come back then into Untied Light and then do what you need to do. There are three steps in Untied Light. The first one, completing your profile. So this is filling in information about yourself. Whether you have a Light or a Pro plan, Untied can help you by registering you with HMRC, and you'll get this reference called a unique taxpayer reference number. So that's this 10-digit number at the bottom here. So you put in information about yourself, where you live, phone number, which we can then verify, national insurance number and date of birth. And then you tell Untied how you earn your money. So this is based on the demo that we were walking through yesterday when we did a call with people who were Deliveroo riders. And we can see that in Untied Light, you manually add income. So whether you earn through one of the platforms or you may have other income, which we can just add there. You can do this either for the whole year, or you could simply say that this is your July income for Uber, put the amount, add income, and that gets added. Don't worry about the date. The date is always in the relevant tax year. So pay attention to this at the top. It tells you what tax year you're in, which is the 6th of April 2020 to the 5th of April 2021 is what that relates to. So this is the last tax year you'll be filing for by the end of January. So we can see you can build up your profile here. Expenses are added in a similar manual way, and at every point you can see what the tax position is at the top. Mileage is also added manually. So if you're using something like Strava to log your miles, you might just want to add your mileage for the year if you're using a bicycle. So, whoops, years, deliveries. Let's say it's 6,000 miles in the bike. That gets added into the mileage and effectively that takes into account the vehicle that you've specified. So automatically it works out what the mileage rate is, but you need to tell us how many miles it is and what vehicle you've used. Untied Light also supports one employment. So let's say I was working for AB Co Limited and there is a reference, which is their employer reference. I've made £15,000 in this employment, and during the course of that employment, they've taken off £800 of tax. I'll then save that employment, and that gets recorded and taken into account in the tax calculation. The important thing when you're looking at tax is you have this thing called a personal allowance, and as long as you're earning underneath that personal allowance, there's no tax to pay. You may have to pay some national insurance, as we discuss on other calls. But if you have a separate job, generally that would take up your entire personal allowance, and the amount of tax you have to be paying to HMRC is therefore going to be significantly higher on your self-employment income. You then come to this page, which is where you submit your tax return. But before I do so, just going to look at a couple of other things. On the left-hand side, we have COVID support, and this is built into both Untied Lite and Untied Pro. It's a guide to really how do you record support that you received during the course of the pandemic, whether that is something like SCISS that I know a lot of people have received. You may also have been furloughed, and here we say furlough doesn't get declared separately. You can manage your subscription here, so if I wanted to upgrade my plan, I can do that. And we've always got help, so if people have questions, you can ask us questions at any point, and we're on hand to lend you some help. I'll come back now to tax filing, and we will submit this return. Both Untied Lite and Untied Pro support something called Express Submit. You just send us your identity document, so one might be a passport, the other one something with your address, and we can then verify you to submit without needing your own login with HMRC. A reminder that we recommend that you tick this box to test the submission beforehand. There may be other information that you need to complete. For instance, if you've moved or if you've recently started as self-employed. And if you don't know some of the exact numbers, you can tick this box to say that it's provisional and explain what information is an estimate at that point, and then they'll take that into account when they review the submission. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to go ahead and tick to confirm that I'm ready to submit. I'm now going to press submit, and all this data is now going to HMRC. Of course, this is a demo, so not all the data necessarily succeeds if we're doing it through a demo account, but you can see the way that this works, and here we have indeed had a successful confirmation that that is a correct tax return. I've done this as a test. If this were a real tax return, I would now be hitting submit now. Don't stop at the test. You have to make sure that you now submit now at this point. So what we've done in the last 7 minutes is we've seen a whole tax return prepared and filed using Untied Lite. It's straightforward, it's quick, it's easy, and it suits many people. But it doesn't have the full functionality that people may want, and it's not a mobile app. You can use it in your mobile, but let's take a quick look now at Untied Pro, and I'm going to swap to a different screen in order to do that. So just bear with me while I do that. And if you have questions on Untied Lite at the moment, then do let us know. So I am now going to share my screen on my phone. And you should see now I'm logging into Untied on my phone. Right, so I hope, Ben, you can now see my screen on my phone.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, right, okay. The way that Untied Pro works is it's a full-featured mobile tax app. It manages your taxes straight from the app and allows you to file again straight to HMRC. And it includes inbuilt optimization. It connects to your bank accounts. So let's just walk through a few things here and we'll see how that works. Let's say I have used the train line to take a trip, and it's a business trip because I'm going to a conference. I tag that as business expense. Untied is now learning about me and optimizing things as we go. So let's say I'm doing deliveries. And I'm going to put my postcode in again. Save that. It's now also identified similar transactions, which might also be transactions I want to claim. So the idea is that Untied's learning here and saying that we found something similar. If I long press, I can actually tick both of them, and I can then click tag at the top. I'm just going to do that. And now I can also create a rule so that if there are further Trainline transactions coming through either that bank account or any bank account, they'll automatically be tagged as business. I'll save changes there. So this is making life easy for me in the future, so I don't need manually to spot these things. Some people who might have their own separate bank account for business transactions would probably set everything that goes through the bank account to be tagged as business, whether that's income or whether it's expenditure. So I'm now going to go back to this page of transactions by dragging it back, and we can see the whole page of transactions. And we'll also see that we've got some Amazon transactions. I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to click on advanced at this point, because when I bought this purchase from Amazon, only a part of it was actually a business transaction. Only £5 of it was business transaction. We can see at the top, I can allocate by amount or by percentage. I'm doing this by amount. So I'm going to now say £5 of that was business expense. The rest of it we can see at the bottom is ignored. I'm now going to click save against that. Again, it spotted similar transactions. I'm just going to click on that just to show you one thing, because the word similar is important. Because as I didn't click on it quick enough, when it finds similar transactions, it doesn't necessarily mean an exact match. So we can see all these Amazon transactions, the top one and the one underneath John Smith, have got different reference numbers. So it's finding things that are similar, and you can then deal with them together. I'm just going to tag this big holy group amount as business income, and we'll see what that does. And as on Untied Light, we've got the income, expenses, and tax estimate included and always up to date at the top of the screen. One other thing that Untied Pro does is it allows you to log your journeys. And I've come onto this screen to show you a couple of things. So these are a couple of journeys I've done this week, and it works out the journey that I've done, and I can specify the nature of the vehicle. It has a decent guess at what the vehicle is. So it often comes up and works out that I'm on a bicycle or in a car. But if I just claim this, that then claims that automatically as business mileage. You'll notice at the top, I haven't yet enabled journey logging. In practice, you would do that, but I wanted to show you this because you need to remember to turn on journey logging in your app and to allow Untied to log your location. In some devices, you have the choice of whether you're logging location only when the app is open or at all times. You need to set at all times in order for this to work. You'll notice that I haven't got GPS enabled. Actually, this works quite well without GPS enabled, but you can do so in order to improve the accuracy. And the location update frequency can also be used if the journeys aren't quite working, or for instance, you'll notice that they're cutting up halfway through. Just play around with some of those things. Also within Untied Pro is something that you can ask money from other people. So you can request and send invoices and get paid, and they'll be able to pay you straight from within their mobile banking app without them needing to get your bank details to enter into their bank and so on. So this is quick and smooth as a way to add invoices and get paid. And a lot of people who work in beauty actually use this capability in order to be receiving money from their clients. As before, you can be submitting a tax return, and as you start working through this, you'll see various questions about how you're earning. If you work from home, you can claim a proportion of your bills, and a wizard will allow that to happen. You can also activate that wizard by clicking on a light bulb, which you might see. You can see against that electricity bill there's an insight light bulb, which actually again identifies an opportunity to save money and reduce my tax by recognizing the fact that I work from home. One of the most powerful things about Untied Pro is that all this works in a mobile app. But we also recognize there are some people who actually want to be doing this in a browser. So it has a browser version as well. And I'll just show you that. And then we can go into a bit more detail as well. So I'm just going to swap very briefly into a browser view, and we can see what that looks like. Actually, I think I've managed to close that browser view. There we go. Right, so you should now be able to see that. So Ben, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so this browser view is exactly the same as in the mobile app. And I'm just going to refresh it, and we'll see those transactions that we tagged in the mobile app coming here. So all the data is automatically synced in the cloud. And I'll just show you a couple of other things that you might do. If I do want to find all my Amazon transactions, well, I can quickly do that here. I can bulk tag. So I might tag all of them as business transactions now. If I've already got one that's tagged, I'll overwrite that and away we go. So we can see how quickly this can be done. I can add a receipt, and I can do that on the mobile app as well. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open up this transaction at the top. If I have a receipt, I will be able to paste it there. So I'm just going to, for instance, grab a bit of the screen. We'll use that, click in there, and we'll paste that. And imagine that was our receipt. I'll save that. It over time will give you a bit of a preview, but the important thing is here we can see there's a receipt. Look at the columns that say amount and claimed. If you're partially claiming a transaction, the claimed amount will be different. You can also add transactions manually on both the mobile app and in Untied Pro in the browser. So putting this in, you can then put the details of your transaction, and that might be something you've received in cash or paid in cash or through another account. You can also download your transactions and import them. If you want to import transactions, you can also send the spreadsheet to us and we can make sure that happens. And that's often useful for people who are just getting used to this for the first time. You can show other columns. And if you do need more space, well, then click on that at the top and that will give you a little bit more room. It's a bit of a crowded browser there. At any point, if you want to see what numbers make up your return, you can click on View Tax Breakdown at the top. That's also on the left-hand side. So let's take a quick look at my trading expenses. Well, we know what they are, but that shows them appearing there. Again, your rules that we set up are appearing here. That was the Trainline rule we set up earlier. And if you want to request payments, that, of course, is supported as well by the browser version. You might be somebody who has lots of complicated sources of income. And if this is you, this is where you'll be able to enter the information. So you might have UK property that you're renting out. You may be somebody who is non-resident, in which case we've got a form as well for you to complete. Once again, as with Untied Lite that we saw before, you can file your return very quickly and easily from within Untied Pro without needing your login with HMRC. If you need help at any point, click on help at the bottom right-hand corner. So if you want to know about your receipts, if you need to keep receipts, put that number there, and you can then get the answers here. And you can always ask us if you can't find the answer directly from within the Untied help capability. One other factor within Untied Pro is you can pay HMRC directly from within Untied Pro. So just a few clicks, that automatically puts the right reference number on your payment and make sure that goes to the right account at HMRC. And that's probably a good place to stop. I said, Ben, that we try and do it in 20 minutes. I've